All right, we are back. Episode 9 of Boots and Scarves. Welcome, ladies. Today it's all about women's international football. And since Stefan and I have been doing podcasts together, this one's very special and historic for us because, as the viewers can see, it's an all-women's panel today, and being women's football is the theme. We thought, well, this would be really cool to do. So anyway, without further ado, CPL's over a year old, and our first guest ever from outside of Ontario, coming from Winnipeg, supporting the Valor through Red River Rising. Everyone, please give it up for Nikki. How are you doing, Nikki?
I'm okay. Just for the record, I'm actually not from outside of Ontario. I'm from Ontario. I just live in Winnipeg now.
Yes, resides in.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, we have our good friend who did the reverse, basically. She's originally from Winnipeg, but has been residing in Ottawa since, I think you left at 15, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she's been supporting local football with us for many, many years. She's a very dear friend of ours. Everyone, please say hello to Nicole.
Hey everyone.
Another out-of-towner who at one point in her life she was playing sports, including footy. She did tell me that she was scouted at one point, or she was being scouted. But then, of course, like many athletes, injuries, happen. We all first met her, or at least those of us who were there in Montreal. The first time we met her was 2015, the Women's World Cup, Canada versus the Netherlands, which was an amazing experience. She's now coming to us live from Hastings, Ontario. Please say hello to Jen.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, El Presidente, first
Hi.
female, first woman president of Bytown Boys. Please, one who's been representing us real well over the last few Zoom, events. She very, very well-spoken person, since everything here in Ottawa has been surrounding Atletico Ottawa joining CPL. So please give it up for Jessica.
Thank you, Anton.
No problem. I'm not gonna lie. Every week I try to think of, how am I gonna give the guests their roses, I usually talk to myself to sleep, trying to think of what I'm gonna say. Because I don't want to botch it too much, at least. Anyway, so we're going to get right into it. We have 11 questions, all surrounding women's football. The first few come from our super supporter, Stuart, who's actually in the gallows somewhere from Scotland. So anyway, we'll get right into it. Everyone's going to get a turn to speak. And you know what, Nikki from Winnipeg, I'll get you to start first if you'd like. First question is probably the most typical sports question.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your single greatest female footballer of all time? Nikki, you there?
I forgot. Sorry, I muted myself. No.
Oh,
sorry.
You're good.
So this one, I think it'd be pretty hard for me to say anyone other than Sink. Christine Sinclair, for me, I don't think there could ever be anyone. I mean, there are some fantastic women's footballers around the world, but it has to be Sink for me.
Right on. Jen?
I'm going to have to totally echo Nikki there. It's Sinky all the way.
Yeah.
Sink all day. Nicole?
Again, same here. She's amazing. So enough said. She's a great athlete, period.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, that's my girl. So yeah.
Jess, are we going 4 for 4?
No.
No,
we're not. I actually couldn't choose one because there's so many options. So I didn't choose anybody.
Okay. Well, you know what, Sinclair is, you know, it's really hard to say no, you know, like she's only done everything. All right, next up, Nicole, I'll get you to start. So describe how you were introduced to women's football and what was the experience like?
Wow. Since you mentioned the Montreal game, Canada versus Netherlands,
Yeah.
that is where it began. I remember Graham and I, my husband, we were running late, so we came in a little bit late. So I was like, oh no, I'm gonna miss everything. But as soon as you went in and you got into our section, it was like home, you know, and it was
Yeah.
nice. And I was so excited to see my first like international game, period, live. And I've watched on TV, you know, games here and there, but that I would say would be my first real introduction into
Cool.
women's football. Yeah.
Nice. Jess?
I've always watched TV with my mom and my dad for sports as a kid. So I'd have to say, I guess it started there. In 2015, when we were hosting FIFA, my mom and I had gone to a couple of games.
Right.
So we had gone to TD Place and we had watched some of the teams play there. So I guess I would have to say in 2015 was when I had actually witnessed a women's game live.
Yeah.
Happened to not see Canada play, but we had seen some of the other teams play, like Germany and Sweden, play there. So.
Right. Jen?
She's muted.
There we go. My girlfriend invited me. She said, "Hey, want to come drinking for the weekend? And we'll go to Montreal and have a lot of fun." Ended up going to a football match, and
Yeah.
that's where I met all these lovely people. Sox at the time was there as well. Found out she was a big soccer supporter, and that kind of just catapulted our relationship as well. So it was just, just a lot of fun. Lots of stories. It was a good day.
And Nikki?
So for me, it was around 2010. I was watching CBC and I saw they were doing a story on Canada had the best women's football player in the world at the time. And I was like, really? And that was my introduction. The story was about Sink, of course. And then it was about the build-up heading into the 2011 World Cup. So I started following the 2011 World Cup and was pretty excited. I thought, wow, we're going to have a great chance. We got the best player in the world. And then, of course, that was a pretty abysmal World Cup. However, I was hooked. I stayed anyway. I mean, that's pretty much how it goes for Canadian soccer support, right? We get our hearts broken a lot. But
Right.
And then from there, I just continued on, started following the NWSL, and before that, the WPS. And here we are.
Right.
I will say that I was pretty excited because we moved to Winnipeg in 2015, late 2014. So I knew that I was going to get to watch live games here, and I was pretty excited. Of course, I knew Canada wasn't playing here, but it did mean I was close enough to drive, or actually I flew, but it was not far to Edmonton to go for the opening game to watch Canada play. So that was pretty cool too, because I had a few tears in my eyes, I'll have to say, when that anthem played. But it was the same for everybody else when the Canadian anthem was played. But
absolutely. And especially, it's probably one of my favorite times, men's or women's national side, they start playing the anthem and all our supporters got our scarves up. It's actually like a pretty cool scene. And when, everyone's just belting out that anthem at the top of their lungs, it's beautiful. People need to experience it because I can't describe it with words.
Yep.
All right, next, Jen. If you had the opportunity to set up and attend your ideal match, so between any two countries, which two countries would you love to see play live, and where would you want to see it?
Okay, so this one, the hard part was the where. Two teams, obviously Canada versus Australia. Let's do that one. And then really fun, let's play in Finland.
Okay.
Throw it all out and let's just see what happens.
Right on.
Nice.
Okay. Nicole?
Oh, yeah, I put Canada versus England, of course. My husband is English.
Yeah.
He's from Nottingham. And I said Wembley because Graham talks about going to Wembley, and it's this big pilgrimage. And I've always wanted to go to Wembley and just, que sera, sera. And just have a good time, have a ball, cheer my girls on, and
for sure,
and rub it in Graham's face.
And over to Nikki.
We've seen this match up a lot, but I'm always going to say Canada versus USA. There's always a little bit of extra skin in that match, and honestly, that Olympic game in 2012 was probably for me the best women's football match that was ever played, and so for sure that's the matchup. I'm going to say at home somewhere because I always want to watch games at home. I don't know. I would take anywhere in Canada.
Okay, cool. And Jess?
I would want to see Canada versus Ireland.
Okay.
I've gone to Ireland once before, about 11 or 12 years ago with family. So it would take place in Ireland, and I would go to the game, I would go to the match, and I would do stuff in Ireland that I didn't get a chance to do while we were there, but also do some of the, as well as go to the game, some of the stuff that I had already done. So the Jameson Distillery and the Guinness Brewery again.
Nice. Okay, let's go with, you know what, Jess again.
Okay.
So now we're into the, from question 4 to 11, all comes from Stefan. Some of it was a collaborative effort because we were scrambling, and I did not want to be late with, people trying to get their heads around what we were going to ask, right? So anyway, so we know, like, qualifying for the Women's World Cup and Olympic competitions, like, it's a very, I guess, convoluted route or more complicated route than, what the men have to go through to get, and qualify for the equal tournaments. So, in your opinion, like, should qualifying for these major tourneys be simplified alike the men's qualifying? Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually think that it's the women's route is very complicated. I think they should actually adopt the system that the men have for qualifying for the women.
Okay. Nikki?
I guess I'm going to admit I don't know a ton about men's qualifying. Like, I thought in CONCACAF we're pretty similar, men to women, but some of the European qualifying for women for sure needs a lot of change.
Absolutely.
Like, it's complete bullshit. If you have a shitty World Cup, you don't go to the Olympics, and if you have a shitty Olympics, you don't go to the World Cup. And like that in Europe for sure, it's messed up there. That's got to change.
And then there's all these random tournaments too.
Yeah.
So, Jen?
I'm gonna have to go with yes, obviously. I mean, just because we're complicated, apparently doesn't mean the way to the Olympics and World Cup for us needs to be complicated. Everybody, it's the same sport, whether you're male or female.
Right. And Nicole?
Well, yes, of course, yeah. I don't know much about the qualification side of things, but it should be fair, and it should be just like the men's.
Well, plain and simple, right?
Plain and simple, yeah. Why complicate shit?
Right. No, it makes.
Sorry for cursing.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just hosting from Vanier. It doesn't mean anything. So, anyway. All right, next one. I'll get Jen to start. So, the FIFA rules state. Now, this is kind of snowballing from the last question. So, the FIFA rules state that the men cannot, double underline, cannot play on turf, but only on grass. Yet the women have the option. It's like, oh, whatever we give you, this is what you're playing on, right? So, should FIFA then simply change the rules to just grass for both, or are we going to tell the guys, suck it up, Buttercup, you're going to get the same treatment?
I'm going to say suck it up, Buttercup. Like, if we have to play on turf, why can't the boys play on turf? Like, it comes back to the same question. everything, it's one sport, male or female, doesn't matter. Should
Right.
be no matter what.
Absolutely. Nicole?
Yeah, I'm same way. What makes men so different than women? And what makes women so different than men? Like, it makes no sense. I really, I don't think that is fair. Again, and I think women should play on grass just like the men, actually.
Cool. Jess?
I have to agree with Jen and Nicole. I think that the rules should be equal. In the end, it is the same sport. So I think that the men should be able to play on both grass and turf, just like the women.
Cool. Nikki?
Well, I mean, I think technically the rules, like by the laws of the game in 2004, they changed it so tournaments could be on turf or grass for both men and women. So technically men are also in the rules able to play on turf, but the selection committees have just never selected.
Well, you're right. Is the it's on paper but not in practice necessarily.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, of course, I think things should be the same. And as a player, I hate playing on turf. But my feelings about it are complicated because if you take 2015, for instance, Canada was the only bidding country at the end.
Right.
You want to have and then, so if you say Canada can't have turf, I don't know that we're a nation that could support having that many grass pitches across the country. And I hate turf, but there were some really, really cool legacy aspects of us hosting that tournament. Like, for instance, here in Winnipeg, those 3 high quality turf training pitches that they had to put in for them to train on are now available for people to start playing on in early March, when we might not get on grass fields here in Winnipeg until May. So
okay,
I have very complicated feelings. I think everything, of course, there shouldn't be issues with gender, but I don't actually mind for either gender if turf is an option sometimes.
Oh, okay.
That's my opinion.
Cool. All right, Nicole, you're next. So with football clubs in Europe, they're starting to invest more in their women's sides. And then you have, countries like Canada and Mexico who are a little bit behind the ball on that in player development. So even though in Canada we do have an Ontario version of the W League and USA as NWSL, so, can you foresee a time when, we do invest more in them?
This one was hard for me because I don't have a lot of knowledge and not a lot of background. I'm aware that Europe teams are getting a lot of backing, a lot of support, which is great. It's great to see. I just hope for our Canadian team that will be mirrored. I don't know. I can foresee if it's gonna affect us with all this, but I don't really have that much of an opinion. Sorry.
Okay. Is it something that you would want to see happen? Like that we invest more
get more
in our
backing?
women's programs like we do with the
Of course, yeah. Cool. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, there's so much potential there. There's so much, talent and that kind of stuff. I think I would love to see a lot more backing. Yeah. But yeah.
Jess?
As Nicole was saying, like a lot more backing to develop more of the players. So to develop more players and to see the talent that we do have, because there are plenty of females out there that are very, very talented that maybe people don't even notice yet.
Yeah, it's super popular for sure. Jen?
I have a backing with hockey as well, and I've seen the women's side falter with the lack of backing from the men's teams or the bigger clubs that would run side by side with them. So right. I feel like once Europe, and because they are putting more money into their teams, Canada does need to start stepping up more and develop from the beginning with women's and men's. Like it just needs to happen overall.
And Nikki?
Yeah, for sure. Like, we are falling behind now. Even Mexico, you know, they have the league that's focused on youth players. So I think it's only a short matter of time before Mexico starts knocking on our door. And like, you look even with what they've done in England, like in 2013 or 14, Desiree Scott went over to play in England, left the NWSL. And at that time, I felt like it hurt her game. She came back not as strong of a player because the league hadn't developed enough. But in like 5 years, they've grown so much. Like, it's countries like England. I guess the point is, it doesn't take that long for it to have a positive impact, but we got to get started now.
Absolutely. So. And what I find very ironic is that, you know, regardless of this, the women's side generally does far better in tournaments than the men. And yet the men have all this backing, right? Like, it's really weird to me. So anyway, here, Nikki, I'll get you to start this one too. So name one women's game you wish you were able to attend but couldn't.
This one's tough for me because in theory, I debated, like, I kind of wanted to say that 2012 Canada-USA game at the Olympics, but for me, I think I'm going to have to say the 2017 NWSL championship game between Portland and North Carolina.
Wow.
I was at the 2013 game when Portland won their first championship, and it kind of killed me a little bit not to be there to see them win their second. And especially in that stadium in Orlando, it's an incredible stadium. That one was tough for me to miss, but I did see it on TV, not TV, but streaming. So that was good.
Yeah. Jen?
Sinky's 185. Canada versus St. Kitts in Texas. That's where I wish I was.
You know what? I think many of us wish we were there too.
Yeah.
Here. Nicole?
Me. Oh, okay. I couldn't come up with a Canadian one. So
could be any game.
But I came up with one. I was watching Euros, women's. I think it was England versus Netherlands. I can't remember, but it was a good game. Graham had it on, and it was really back and forth, and it was just a lot of energy, and the crowd was really into it. So yeah, and I came up with.
Right. Perfect. Oh, that was a wild game. It really was. Jess?
I went more recent. Last year, women played in Toronto, and it was in the smack of the middle of the week. I couldn't go because of work. I work for the school board, so it's hard for me to take time off or justify taking time off to go down to Toronto to watch the game. So if I could, I would have been there with everybody. But in the end, I was holding down the fort at the pub, and that bar was packed. And everybody was watching the Canada game. It was on multiple TVs in the bar, and it was an amazing night at the bar, but I wish I was with everybody else in Toronto.
Absolutely. Okay, Nicole. So, with the Women's World Cup expanding the amount of teams in the competition, so do you think it's time to do away with double headers in the group stage simply?
I said yes, because it will simplify things in the long run.
Okay.
Yes. I had to look at my question. Sorry.
Fine, that's fine.
But yes, that's what I said.
Cool. Nikki?
I'm going to say no, even though I don't love the concept of double headers. I just think back to some of those games in Winnipeg where a couple of the lesser known teams here, because I went to all the games, sometimes it wasn't filled out that much. Like, say you get a Thailand and another country that doesn't have the big draw. So I feel like when you expand that even more and add even more of these countries in, it may be hard to fill some of those stadiums. So sometimes the double headers get people into some of the games they wouldn't come to. So I think early going, I'm going to say no, but hopefully eventually.
Okay. And Jess?
I guess I interpreted the question a little differently. So I said yes, because it is difficult to play one game in a day, but let alone two games. So I took it as the same team playing two instead of two, like 4 different teams.
Right.
And the players are more susceptible to injuries.
Mhm.
So I interpreted that question a totally different way.
That's fine. That's totally fine. Here, Jen.
I'm gonna have to say no. I like the double headers. I think the more chances we get to play, it just fares well for any team that's on the pitch.
That's a very fair point. Okay, Jessica. So what is the most effective way, in your opinion, that you've personally found to introduce others to the women's game of football?
Okay, so I'm actually, for the men's, I'm actually a result of being introduced to the local team. Stefan knew that I had never gone to an Ottawa Fury game, so he bought my ticket 5 years ago. And that's how I was introduced to the supporter culture, how I was invited. Everybody welcomed me. So I loved the experience and continued to go. So from that first game, I actually went to almost every single game that season for the rest of the season. And so I think that that's exactly what I would do in the near future, is I would actually, if somebody's never attended a game, buy their ticket, have them experience the supporter culture and see if it's something for them.
Cool. Jen?
It was my girlfriend, and really it's the hate drinking and go scream and cheer for our country, and so we're really excited. And it's how we brought in our other girlfriend to it, was just, let's go drinking and look, hey, there's a football match, and we just show up, and it was, but then I guess I've been to an Embryades match or march a couple times, and
Right.
that is one of a kind. I mean, that was my first real big, huge supporter march. So anybody that can link into that and then say, hey, this is what we do here, and then for Canada, and yeah, that's just lots of fun.
Well, the atmosphere and the party aspects are real selling points for sure.
For sure. For sure.
Nikki.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I think, like most of us, we don't have like regular women's games to bring people to, and I think that really is the easiest way to bring people in, is to take them to a live match. But beyond that, I just try to talk about it a lot and be passionate about it. I mean, everybody that I know knows about women's football because of me, because I don't shut up about it. So yeah, so I mean, that's, I think, all we can do until we get an actual league where we can bring people out day to day, for sure.
But we need people like you to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
We need that. Canada needs that big time. And Nicole.
Yeah, I'm same with everyone else. How I got introduced to football. Well, Anton, Stefan and you guys just badgered me and got me in and got me hooked on Villa, and and I've become an alcoholic ever since. No.
Very much.
He's laughing in the background, by the way.
Yeah, I bet. But yeah, the bringing people in, inviting people, spreading the word, talking, like, we are all on social media, on Twitter and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But also just having someone that just has that little spark of interest, and then just keep going with that person, and just enticing them to come and see and be a part and feel the atmosphere too. And yeah, so I'm like everybody else,
Cool.
Just spread the word.
All right, last 2 questions of the day. Jen, so name a country you would utterly avoid visiting. So let's say someone, came up to you, said, okay, I've got your airfare, your hotel paid for, your ticket stamped, but what's the one country you're going to avoid visiting, even if everything was provided for you?
North Korea.
Yes.
I mean, there's not many places I wouldn't go, but that's probably one place I wouldn't want to visit. Not that there are beautiful things and stuff, but just, North Korea.
Probably wouldn't make it out, too.
Jess.
The funny thing is, I was talking to Simon and Stefan about this question yesterday night, because I was on Zoom with them and I was doing the the answering the questions, and that's the exact same answer that Simon told me to say.
Great minds.
Up to Nikki.
That's tough. I'm going to say maybe Qatar, although if Canada qualifies for Qatar, maybe we'll see if I test my resolution there. But I don't really see myself wanting to go there and support all of the oppression and all that kind of stuff. But again, if Canada somehow qualifies, I don't know. We'll see, I guess. We'll see what happens.
I'm definitely with you on that, because all that's surrounding that country and the hosting of the tournament and how that happened. You're not going to catch me watching any football from that whatsoever. But like you said, if Canada magically made it, that might test my will, So,
yeah, we'll see.
So Nicole?
I put hot ! So anywhere hot and humid would be my one place where I probably will question whether or not I would go. Like Qatar is an example. I don't deal with heat well. I get angry, I get irritable. Humidity is not my friend. If you see my hair, I'm naturally curly, so it's not. I think I would like to be in a place where I'm comfortable. Yes, dictatorships, anybody who has a dictatorship or, has questionable morals, I probably wouldn't want to go and put money into that. So, yeah, hot was my one thing. I went with temperature.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. It's practical.
Cool.
It's practical. It's all good. All right, last one. I'll give it to our out of province guest, Nikki. So FIFA has asked you to come up with your new made up award for named after a player. So which player are you naming your award, and what's the award for?
Okay, I struggled with this one a lot, but I got a pretty good suggestion from a friend, so I'm going to go with what he suggested, and it's going to be the Sydney Leroux Judas Award.
All right. All right. No, because she scored a goal on our end, and it got ugly. But and what's the award for?
Just for being basically someone who is a really shitty human being.
and for betrayal, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jen?
I did the Stinky Crown.
All right. And what's the award for?
For the player who demonstrates the most commitment to growing the game during the season.
That's bang on. That is bang on. Here, Nicole?
I couldn't come up with one. I said stupid cheesy stuff to Graham the other day, and it didn't stick. Like a golden boot award or something like that.
Yeah.
You have like a boot and it's like for the best goal or the most creative goal or something like that. I don't know, but it was just really cheesy.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's no rules on this podcast. Say what you want.
Exactly. Thanks.
And Jessica.
I don't have an answer for this question.
No?
No, I couldn't think of anything. I honestly couldn't think of anything.
Okay. Anyway, I think I was debating whether or not I should say something, but I'm going to go ahead. I wanted to give a special shout out to a fellow female supporter, Bailey, who, she was supposed to join us this morning, and she was going to join us from Texas. She's someone who's been supporting the game down there for many years. She's the head of the ISC. She's a supporter of FC Dallas. She's mad for football. And just obviously what's been happening recently, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, she's like, what, I'm just going to sit this one out. So, I want to give a special salute to her, special shout out. And, we're all thinking of you, hope you're safe and all that. And special thank you to Nikki for joining us from Winnipeg. Thank you, Nikki, so much.
No problem.
It is such a joy. And Jen from Hastings, who's a 3-hour ride down the highway. And then, of course, Nicole, who's here in Ottawa, and our Bytown Boys president, Jessica, who's a regular. Thank you. As well as to Stuart for providing questions, as well as Stefan. This is Boots and Scarves, episode 9, International Women's Football with the all women's panel. Thank you very much. Signing off.